Okay, we're back to this Gurian cutaway. Couple more things I want to kind of point out about how I set up and protect the guitar while I'm working on it. So the frets are installed. That's how much protrusion I leave for the edge dress. No chance of loosening up those frets on the outside edge. Those fret ends are actually polished before I drive them into the fingerboard. And this leaves the minimum amount of resistance to the file so that you don't jar those frets loose. Here's a shot of the bass side of the fingerboard just to give you an idea of how tight I get those tolerances right out of the gate. Alright, now that the outside edges are flushed, knock off that sharp tip and that outside edge. Man, I see videos of guys messing around with this outside edge forever. It doesn't have to be that complicated. This is an auger file. One stroke will set you right up. Get rid of that sharp edge. There's teeth on this edge, but there's no teeth on the flat there, so you're not marring the fingerboard. You're just taking off that sharp inside tip. After flushing those frets level with the outside of the fingerboard. So those frets have been edge dressed, leveled, recrowned, and I'm just about to do the final buff. It's a very elegant guitar. It's interesting, no inlay in the fingerboard at all, just a slab ebony. Right, the fretboard has been leveled and re-radiused, and the trajectory of the string path to the bridge has been changed slightly after that neck set. The frets are now buffed to a mirror shine. I want to pull off this masking tape. I'm going to show you how I sort of protect the top when I had to resaw those fret slots. If you do it right, it should look like the guitar's never been touched. This is how I protect the top while I'm going through this whole procedure, resawing those fret slots to deepen them. That's how I mask off the top with the tongue depressors underneath to prevent any scoring of the surface of the soundboard. This is how I set up to do the fret end filling. These straps here are just kind of tensioned and pull the body gently into the leather pad of the body platform. So I basically isolated the fingerboard itself so that I can pat a little French polish on there at the end, and again, it'll look like it's never been touched. Here's another view of that setup for this Gurian to do the final filling of the fret ends with some lacquer stick and then finish it up with some French polish. The edge filling is now complete. We'll pat a little bit of French polish on there and then flip it over and do the other side. And this is the bass side, just kind of French polish that. So I'll let that set up. You can see the amount of flex and displacement, the way the soundboard is sort of dimpling at the top end of the sound hole. This needs to be addressed because if it can't even handle a 10 to 47 string, we need a little bit of reinforcement around that sound hole. And that was one of the issues initially when the customer dropped the guitar off, and we will take care of that as well. The thin strap on the underside of the soundboard that goes from the inside of the X brace to the head brace, that's going to be beefed up a little bit because this affects the playability and obviously the stability of the soundboard. I've cut a strip off this aged Sitka spruce soundboard stock or bracing stock. I will fabricate two perfectly quarter sawn spruce reinforcement pieces for that Gurian soundboard. So the idea is here we want to add tensile strength without adding too much mass. So Sitka spruce is definitely the best choice. Because of its strength to weight ratio, these two new braces that we put in will be very strong and very light. So here's the crazy clamping configuration I needed to get both of those little reinforcement pieces to lay flat and pull the soundboard down nice and flush and get rid of that crimping. So we'll let that set overnight, string it up in the morning, and we'll take another look. I wanted to talk today a little bit about general guitar physics. The way the neck attaches to the body, there's 6 different planes that need to be considered. It's got to be right this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. Now the guitar as you know, in most cases is organic material. In this case it's wood. This is a 40-year-old Gurian cutaway guitar. Now the string load is a mechanical force that's there relentlessly. You tune up your guitar, depending on the gauge of strings, 120, 160, 180 pounds tension, 24/7, 365, it's there forever. So what happens is, over time, the instrument actually flexes up like this. Now, when the instrument is young, it'll flex to a point and it'll find its equilibrium, and then it'll kind of float in resistance against the gauge of string, or the string load that you've chosen. But over a long period of time, the guitar wants to kind of fold up under that tension. And that's essentially what's happened with this guitar. In the mid-70s, a cutaway flat-top acoustic guitar was kind of a new thing. There were a lot of people doing that. This guitar has managed to survive 40 years, but it needs a bit of help. And as you saw in the previous clip, you could see it sort of dimpling on either side of the sound hole. It's folding up. I'm going to give you a little close-up of this. I'll bring the camera in a little tighter and show you what I've done and explain what I did, how I did it, and why I did it the way I did it. Now this soundboard in particular was cut very thin. What's happened is the two thin straps that bridge from the head brace, which is the main brace that goes across here, they intersect the X brace on both sides. And the idea of this is we want to increase the tensile strength of the top. We don't want to add any mass that's going to interfere with the resonance of the guitar. I started out with these thick pieces and basically got them to fit perfectly so that they butt up against the head brace and they butt up against the X brace, much like the thin strap that was put in there originally. Now, when I finished paring these down, they essentially ended up taking this shape. Very light, almost no weight at all. But this increased the rigidity of the top to stop the guitar from folding up. Now these strings are extra light, 10 to 47. Very light strings for an acoustic guitar. I've already bench tested this. I've tuned these strings up to concert pitch. The customer and I had discussed going with a custom light string, which is 11 thou to 52. So the next step is to make sure that this soundboard will handle the load of an 11 to 52 thou string. So the neck was reset, and you can see there's a respectable amount of saddle protruding above the surface of the rosewood bridge. So I've reinstalled the strap button now that conceals that ebony dowel that you saw earlier in the video. It's set up. It plays beautifully with these. Okay, this Gurian guitar is holding rock steady with those 10 to 47 strings. I'm going to give it another day, and then we'll try the 11 to 52 and check it again.